Joining us is News Corp columnist Angela Mollard. Angela, great to be with you. Let's start with the Olympics. It's always an exciting time for us to rally around our athletes, but it really got off to an uncomfortable start. What did you make of the opening ceremony?
Look, it was a mess. It went for too long. It was so woke. It was out. And every time you looked at it, something different was happening. There were minions. There was a menage a trois. There was a repurposing of the Last Supper with transvestites. It just felt like they were trying to do too much and to nod to too much about. Look, it's always about French history and it's always about the country's culture and that sort of thing. But it just felt like it didn't have a story in the way that Sydney or London had a beautiful flowing story that, you could grab it. You found yourself looking at it thinking, what's the reference point here? Too clever by half. I mean, this is the country that is at the forefront of art and culture. Could have done better. 100%
agree. And then modern Christianity, I just don't think it went down well.
Not at all. And look, if you had attacked Islam like that, I can understand why Christians are really upset about it. Look, the whole Jesus thing about turning the other cheek. Yeah, but that's a passive reaction. This hurt a belief system of people, and I just don't think you do that. You couldn't nod to the culture of transvestites and diversity without having to situate it, the parody, within the Last Supper.
Absolutely, well said. Let's talk about some of the other issues that Paris is dealing with as it hosts this Olympics. There are concerns over the water quality in the scene, as a men's race had to be postponed because of it. Is that right?
That's right. The triathlon, so of course they were going to do the swimming element in the Seine. They've had terrible weather, so all the dog poo that is all over the streets of France. And this is the thing, everyone thinks France is elegant and gorgeous, this beautiful country where the women are the coolest in the world and they have the loveliest food, but actually it's a pigsty. It's disgusting. The last time I was there, you just spend your whole time, it's not Emily in Paris, you are not just toppling around on your shoes, you are actually trying to navigate the way through the dog poo. So look, to even think that they spent I think it was more than $1 billion on trying to clean up the river.
My goodness.
And most city rivers are a pigsty. It's just, swim in a pool or find an ocean and whatever, just situate it somewhere else. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and some of the images that I'm seeing of the amount of crowds, and they haven't got the security checkpoints organised, that people don't know where they're going, and it just seems like absolute chaos.
It's going to make Brisbane look really good.
That's good. Australia needs a win sometimes, so we'll be good for Brisbane. But as you mentioned, it's, Paris and France, it's known for its food, but unfortunately for the athletes, they're not getting the best food or the food that they might need to perform at their best. They've been stuck with vegan menus.
That's right. About 60% of the menu at the Athletes Village is apparently vegan. Now, that's fine if you're having a convention of astrologers and palm readers, but this is the Olympics. They need a hunk of steak. What surprises me about this is, again, it's really woke. This is the country that brought to us beef bourguignon and, fillet steak and bouillabaisse, all these lovely protein-rich dishes. You'd think they'd want to showcase them, wouldn't you? But instead they're being fed these lentil patties and things, which is not going to get you to the world record. So that may be some of the reasons why we're not seeing those numbers in the pool that we were expecting. Because they're just existing on veggies.
No, it's not okay. I can't imagine being an athlete and then you're getting stuck with that. There are reports that there were warnings about that would be the menu, but look, it's certainly not ideal. Staying on the Olympics, a royal has been spotted there, one that Australia likes to claim, Mary.
Well, lots of royals there, but I love the fact that Princess Mary, our royal, she was wearing red and white, so she was supporting Denmark, but as plenty have said, she, runs green and gold in her veins. I thought this was really lovely. Obviously, the Olympics is really, really important to Mary. It's where she met her husband, Fred, in Sydney in 2000. And I think the fact she went into the Athletes Village, spoke to them. Anna Mears obviously was quite nervous, she said, obviously a former Olympian, talked about the fact that she was really nervous, but she was bold enough to invite Princess Mary back to the Athletes Village if she wanted a decent cup of coffee.
Amazing.
So there's always this, does Italy, does France, who has the best coffee? or anyone who's travelled in Europe knows Australia has the best coffee.
Yeah,
It's the first thing you want when you get off the plane, isn't it?
And it is such a good story, isn't it, that we bring up every time there's the Olympics, that is where Fred and Mary met in Sydney in year 2000. You know, I actually got the story firsthand from King Frederick years ago, and I was the only Australian at this party. I did. I was at a party in Venice, and I was the only Australian. And I said, look, you have to tell me the story. I'm the only Australian. I love Mary so much. And he told me about meeting her, and he said they just talked and talked and talked all night.
You asked him?
I did firsthand. It was this was a while ago. It was about 12 years ago.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's my story.
How did you get to be at that party?
Oh, I know. Great question. I'm not at these parties anymore. I was much cooler back then, but he was having a great time. He was doing vodka shots. He was kind of the man that was, I suppose, of course, as the VIP, but there was no kind of security around him. People were picking him up and throwing him up in the air. I thought, what is going on?
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't happen in Australia. Although we don't really have royalty in Australia, but if we have leaders, I don't think they're behaving like that.
Casual, but you were very lucky to get that experience.
To get the inside scoop.
Trying to keep that quiet for a long time. She spent a lot of time, obviously, in Denmark, you know, very undercover. Like I remember the first night he dressed up in the proper, you know, kind of dress uniform to go to a dinner, and she suddenly realised what this meant to be royal. She's talked about that subsequently. So you had the inside scoop on that.
And we're very proud of Mary, aren't we? She just looks amazing. Look, staying on royals, Royal has been named as the best dressed person for 2024, and it's not Kate Middleton.
It's not. It's Princess Beatrice, who, of course, was mocked roundly over the years for her dress sense, notably the hat that she wore to William and Kate's wedding in 2011. It was positioned as, it looked like fallopian tubes. There were so many memes. Well, I think it was before meme time, but it was, you know, like she was so roundly mocked, her and her sister, for being the worst dressed royal. So this is a step up, and she got a new stylist 6 years ago. I quite like these best dressed lists because they sort of, you'll have the royals, but then people like Cruz Beckham, the son of Victoria and David Beckham, have sort of made these lists. I quite like it, and look, Beatrice looks fantastic. I think the moment she borrowed her grandmother, the late Queen's wedding dress, to wear to her own wedding, she of course slightly adjusted it and repurposed it. I think that she just nails it. At Ascot recently, she looked fantastic. And, you know, look, part of the royal, you know, the interest in the royal is fashion.
Absolutely. They're icons, and it's great to see. Look, finally, Buckingham Palace has revealed a new set of royal values, including Stay Curious. What's that about? Stay
Curious. What are the other ones? Lead better. You know, there is a whole lot of ones. I think the interesting thing about this is it's a suite of values that focuses on being very modern, quite different from what the Queen would have had as her set of values. It's about leaning in, it's about being together, you know, working together, succeed together. All very well when your family, though, of course, is very splintered. But what I think is really interesting about this is it has taken out one of the paragraphs that used to refer to the fact that all generations of the royal family were useful in terms of being relatable to the public. That's been taken out because, of course, King Charles wants a slimmed down monarchy. I think that's a mistake. You can slim it down too much. We now have two members of the royal family that have cancer. You have William and Camilla doing all the work. You don't know that, you know, when George comes through, yes, of course, he will be king, but what about Charlotte and Louis? They won't necessarily want to do it. I think the royal family is more visible than it's ever been. They have social media, which is a 24/7 process of delivering the work.
Which has got them into trouble this year.
Has very much got them into trouble, of course, with the photoshopping by Kate. I think they actually need more members of the family doing the work. So I think this is an interesting direction that that the new king has determined.
Okay, we'll watch this space. Angela Mollard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Gabriella.